Hi, everybody. Welcome to our parenting group, our parenting webinar. My name is Jordan. I'm a counselor at Genesis, and with me I have two coworkers.
Hi, my name's Amber Neely. I'm the Assistant Clinical Director here at Genesis and also a counselor.
Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm also a counselor here at Outreach.
So before we officially start, we're just going to go through a few housekeeping things. So just a reminder that this presentation is for educational purposes only. We always want you to consider your own situation and safety concerns before putting into practice any of these ideas that we are going to talk about today. When considering your safety, please make sure to watch this video or this webinar in a safe place where only safe people can hear it. Remember to clear out your browser history after you watch it in case someone monitors your phone or computer. Use headphones if possible to ensure no one else can hear what you're watching. And if you need to leave the live Zoom webinar quickly, remember that you'll need to click end a couple of times and then close out the Zoom page. So considering Genesis confidentiality, please do not use the chat feature on Zoom. So if you use the chat feature, your name and comment will be seen by anyone watching the live video and the video recording on YouTube, which means people will always have access to your comments. And we don't have the ability to delete it. So make sure not to do that. And if you do have questions, our contact information will be at the end of the presentation, so you can reach out to us directly with your comments, questions, and concerns. So if you are in crisis and need help with emergency safety planning or are looking to emergency shelter because of domestic violence, please call our 24-hour hotline number, and that number is 214-946-4357. And if you would also like to sign up for counseling at Genesis or want to talk to a counselor about your situation, or sign up your kids for counseling, that number is 214-389-7700. If you have any questions, like I said earlier, please contact us. Our contact information, our names and emails will be at the end. And then once again, we don't monitor or respond to any comments left on YouTube, so just remember to reach out to us directly. Again, here's some hotline numbers. Our hotline number is the first one, the National Domestic Violence Hotline number, 800-799-7233, and National Suicide Hotline, 800-273-8255. So feel free to take a photo of those if it's safe. And now we're gonna get started. So we've been going throughout our webinars, we've been covering Whole Brain Strategies by Daniel Siegel. And so we're gonna start with that. Before we get started with the strategies, we're gonna go over a little bit about the effects of domestic violence on children. And also considering during this time, during COVID, and considering your situation, please remember to take care of yourself. I know your kids are home a lot more than usual right now. You're either homeschooling or wrapping up homeschooling, and so it feels like you've been in summer already now for a while. Try to take breaks as needed for yourself. Also remembering, right, that this information can be heavy. These are just ideas we are sharing. We know that you're the expert in your family, and so to really consider that and what ideas you want to implement or what ideas you think would be helpful. Remember to ask for help if you're struggling. We're available. We're here for you. And then Amber has listed some resources. So Go Noodle is a great resource. Kids use it at school. We use it in therapy with kids, but it gets kids up and moving. We have some relaxation. There's some relaxation videos on there too. Sesame Street is another one as well. And then we have some other counselors doing coping skills groups. So remember to go check out those webinars. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the effects of domestic violence on children. So considering the domestic violence on children, right? Domestic violence impacts kids similarly to how it impacts adults. And oftentimes kids experience post-traumatic stress symptoms, so PTSD symptoms. And there's different ways that kids can exhibit this. We've listed just a few. So oftentimes children may feel like they're re-experiencing the trauma. And so this displays through either nightmares. So maybe if your kids are having trouble sleeping at night, they could be waking up with nightmares. Maybe they're having flashbacks, so they feel like they're reliving it. In the throughout the day, right? So if they have a flashback, maybe they're really scared or shaking, or they keep talking about something that's happened, so they feel like they're reliving that memory. And then intrusive memory, so that would just be their mind is flooded with some of the traumatic memories that have happened. And so obviously that can impact, their day-to-day life and their functioning. Some other trauma symptoms is avoidance, right? So this would be children that are withdrawing, or they're trying not to think about it or talk about it. They're avoiding reminders, so maybe they don't want to be around certain people. They don't want to go certain places. That triggers the trauma. Maybe when you bring it up, right, they don't want to talk about it, or they avoid it, or they shut you down, or they don't want to talk about feelings that could bring it up. Some other trauma symptoms could be changes in thought and mood, so trouble remembering key features of the traumatic event, negative thoughts about oneself or the world, so maybe they're starting to blame themselves. I am bad, it's my fault, the world is unsafe, and so they start developing that mindset. Maybe they have distorted feelings like guilt or shame, so that can be really normal. Maybe although the traumatic event is not their fault, or the domestic violence isn't their fault, they're feeling like it is, and they're taking that responsibility. Also, maybe you notice that your child is having loss of interest in enjoyable activities. Some other ones would be arousal and reactivity category. So that would be constantly on alert for danger, irritable, potential angry outbursts, maybe more tantrums for the younger children, trouble sleeping, anxiety, maybe they're complaining about having an upset stomach or feeling nervous all the time, but they don't know how to identify what they're anxious about or what they're nervous about, excessive fear of being alone. Some other examples would be feeling really scared of loud noises, or maybe the door opens and they jump, they're really startled easily, constantly asking, what was that? Different things like that. Amber, Charlotte, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it all. I mean, yeah, like you said, just like Jordan said, these symptoms can occur in adults or in children, and sometimes, it can be confusing if these are a part of their developmental age or if this is a part of the trauma. And so just noticing any differences that you see in your child is really important, and any changes in behavior that are unique to your child is really important to look out for.
Absolutely. Okay, and then a little bit before we get into the strategies, really considering, right, if your child is having a lot of those symptoms that we just talked about, right, really understanding that you are the person in the life that they trust the most, you're that safe person, and so it's really important, right, that you're able to help them, you're able to help them heal, you're able to be there for them, and that comes from understanding them, right, trying to kind of dive into their inner world to see what they're thinking, where their behaviors are coming from, and how to help them. And so some important things to remember is that children are aware of the abuse. They do feel scared oftentimes, right? And maybe it looks different in children, or they don't understand everything that's happening or details of the abuse, right? But they sense that maybe their mom is scared, or they sense that the household is tense, or maybe they hear yelling. And so it is important, right, that maybe they don't know everything, right, but they definitely know that it's happening, and they definitely have that sense of fear or uneasiness. The next one, children's perceptions can matter as much as what actually happened, right? So if a child views it a different way, it doesn't really matter how they view it, right? It matters what they're feeling, their thoughts related to it, and how to understand them and help them through that. Sometimes, like I said earlier, children may believe the abuse is their fault, so it's really important to tell them that this isn't your fault. And oftentimes taking that blame off of yourself, right, too. This isn't my fault, this isn't your fault. I know this is really confusing, and validating those feelings. Children may love and also fear the abusive partner, and this is really confusing, but it's really normal, especially if it's that child's father, right? And it's really normal for kids to have those conflicting feelings, and it's also really important for kids to know it's okay to love and be scared and be confused all at the same time. Kind of like we talked about earlier, your child may be acting out or acting in, right? So maybe through their behaviors, they're withdrawing, or they're having a lot of behavioral outbursts, disruptive behaviors. And then children may want to talk about what is happening, but do not know how to talk about it, or may be scared to talk about it, right? They may think this is things that kids can't talk about, or no one's bringing it up to me, so why should I talk about it? So it is important to open that doorway and say, I'm here for you if you want to talk about it, or I can find a safe person for you to talk to. And now I'm going to turn it over to Amber.
Great, thanks, Jordan. So yeah, as we move into looking at some of these whole brain strategies, I wanted to start with this quote from the Whole Brain Child. By directing our attention, we can go from being influenced by factors within and around us to influencing them. When we become aware of the many changing emotions and forces at work around us and within us, we can acknowledge and embrace them as parts of ourselves, but we don't have to allow them to define us. So I think that's really powerful. And as we're going through the next 3 strategies, this is kind of the theme of this, this chapter of the Whole Brain Child. Great. Okay, so the United States of Me. So we're integrating the many parts of self. And so in this part of the Whole Brain Child, Daniel Siegel introduces us to what is known as the Wheel of Awareness. And so when we're thinking about this Wheel of Awareness, I want you to imagine that your mind is like a bicycle wheel, okay? There's a hub at the center, and then there are spokes that are radiating towards that outer rim. So let's break this down a little bit and look at what this wheel looks like, okay? So the rim, that's the known. So that's anything that we pay attention to: thoughts, our feelings, dreams, memories, desires, perceptions of the outside world, our connections to others, and the sensations from our body. So that's that outer rim. The hub is the knowing piece, right? So that's that inner place in the mind where we become aware of all that's happening within us. And we send out these spokes of attention from that center hub to focus on these various points in the rim. And so I think this is a really interesting way of looking at our minds and helping us to become more aware of what's actually going on inside of us, and then integrating all those different parts. And for some, one word that I really love that Dan Siegel used, he actually has a whole book on this, is mindsight. So you can see in my little cloud there. So mindsight is kind of like this superpower that we all can really work on growing, right? It's having the insight, being able to see what's inside of the mind, or it's having empathy and being able to see inside of other people's minds. So it's having insight and it's having empathy as well. And so that's a really important tool that we can really teach our children and help them to grow into, you know, really great humans. And then as we're going through these strategies, what you might be noticing, especially with your kiddos who've experienced trauma, right? If your child gets stuck on that rim, this happens a lot with trauma kids, right? They're stuck on that rim, right? So they're overly focused on just a few rim points and they're unable to see a full picture. So it's like the child that fell down and hurt their leg. This is a really simple example, but they keep talking about that over and over, and they can only focus on the part where they were bleeding. They can't think about the part where mom picked them up and washed off the blood and put a Band-Aid on, and when they were feeling better after, right? They're only focusing on that one piece of the story, and that happens quite a bit in trauma. Great, so we're gonna have Charlotte talk about this next strategy, whole brain strategy number 8.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to go over some of these strategies to help develop your child's mindset and this integration. The first one is called letting the clouds of emotions roll by. It says, instead of dismiss and deny, try teaching that feelings come and go. So as adults, we know that no feeling lasts forever and that feelings come and go. But that does not mean that, but children don't necessarily understand that. So it's important to teach them that these feelings aren't going to last forever, and that they will change. And also just being really respectful of children's feelings. I think, you know, when you see something that your child is being upset about, you might think like this is a really little thing, but for them in their little world, that might be really huge for them. And sometimes these huge feelings, whether it's feeling really angry or really disappointed, can feel overwhelming to a child. So just reminding them that that's not going to last forever.
Okay, and then really quickly, we just kind of leading from that strategy, talking to children about the importance of their emotions, right? It's really powerful when when you help children discover those tools to express themselves. And also really important what Charlotte is saying, teaching them that feelings don't last forever, but also teaching them that it's okay, right? When a kid falls down or when they're sad or when they're angry, sometimes, right, we want kids to be happy. And so we want to take that away. It's okay. You don't need to be sad, but really it's actually important to allow them to notice that emotion and feel that emotion and help them through it. And so just reflecting that, you're sad right now, that's okay. And helping them understand, right, that those feelings, right, that they're having that feel really big or that they can't handle, right, is all connected to their behaviors and their thoughts, right? And it's kind of causing that. And so once they're able to identify that feeling, they're able to express themselves, which helps adults, right, be able to help them through that. But it's also helping them teach them that whatever they're feeling, there's things to do that can help them feel better or help them express it in a healthy way. And so we just put a little chart of different feelings, but those are easy things you can do at home with using feelings charts or even just drawing feelings out to help kids either verbalize it or point to how they feel.
Thank you, Jordan. So another one of these strategies that's going to be helpful in not only, like Jordan was saying, help your child explore their feelings, but to explore and kind of pay attention and give awareness to all of their aspects of their current presence and awareness. So this is going to include sensations, images, feelings, and your thoughts. The sensations, this is going to be any type of physical sensation, whether that's like your heart starting to race a little bit faster, maybe your palms get sweaty. In little kids, that might feel like butterflies are in your stomach, which means that maybe you're feeling anxious. Or maybe you feel a desire to hit inside, and that's the physical sensation that you're feeling that's demonstrating anger or frustration. So helping your child to start to understand and pay attention to these things that they're feeling inside their body and recognizing them as cues for some of the other emotions that they're experiencing. Images, these can affect the way that you look at interact with the world. Being aware helps you take control and diminish the power of these images. So this might be an image of an embarrassing moment that your child had at school and they just can't get that image out of their head. This might be an image that they had in a nightmare that they continually are continuing to experience and see. So just being aware of what images are coming up. Feelings. So this is going to be really important to help your child understand and develop this rich descriptive language to talk about the complexity of their emotions. Because like Jordan was saying and Amber was saying, you can feel a lot of feelings at one time. So to help them to really sort through what feelings they're feeling and allow them to express them. So just being really specific instead of saying, I feel bad. It's like, are you angry, disappointed, worried? Being really specific and not making all feelings either all good or all bad. And definitely recognizing that you can have many feelings at one time. With thoughts, learning to pay attention to your thoughts that are running through your head, understanding that you don't have to believe every single thought that you have. This allows you to direct your attention away from the REM points and back to the center, and back to that hub where you're going to feel the most calm. So it's important to use your left brain, like we were talking about at the beginning of this book and some of these strategies, but to try to use that left brain to think about what you're telling yourself. What words and what phrases are you saying to yourself in your mind? And challenging those, asking yourself like, well, what evidence do I have for that being true? Or and what times have I not experienced that? So just kind of challenging some of those negative thoughts.
And then challenging yourself to look at another rim point and focus your attention to another part of that wheel of awareness. Another point I think is just like how Jordan was saying, how the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors interact. If you realize that you're having hostile thoughts, then that's going to increase the anger that you're feeling, and then maybe your muscles are going to tense up. And so in that moment, you can practice the sift and realize that all of those things are occurring at one time. And lastly, this is another tool that's going to be to help you teach your child how to develop this mindset and develop this awareness of themselves. This does not come naturally really to anybody, especially kiddos. And it's just helping them to have some more insight into what they're experiencing, which is going to give them more control and more focus. And so there's a lot of tools that can help you do this that Amber's going to cover next.
Okay, so let's look at some of these mindset tools. Thanks, Charlotte, for that great overview of all these different strategies. So let's look at some of these mindset tools. These are things that you guys can do as a family, or that you can teach your child. These are things that you can do for yourself as well, right? So visualizing a place where you can feel calm and peaceful, right? So really just loosening up your body and laying down and thinking about whether that's being on the beach, whether that's being on a jog in your favorite park, whatever your peaceful place is, visualizing that place can be really powerful. Closing your eyes and just noticing what you hear, what you smell, and what you feel. Again, these are increasing that mindset, right? Focusing on your body sensations, noticing how you feel. You know, Charlotte mentioned, having hostile thoughts and anger, and how that maybe your body tenses up during those moments. So noticing how your body responds to different feelings. Focusing on deep breathing, noticing how the air goes in and out of your nose, and paying attention to how your chest moves up and down. And then using your 5 senses to do a scavenger hunt. You know, sometimes when we're feeling really upset or overwhelmed, doing something as simple as a scavenger hunt, even just in your mind, right? So just looking around the room and noticing what you can see, listening for what you can hear. Can you smell anything? Taste? Do you have any candy around? Can you taste something? And what can you feel? What can you touch? So just using your 5 senses to do a scavenger hunt. And then counting while breathing is another good tool, right? So you can breathe in for 5 seconds. So taking a big deep breath, breathing in, and then you're going to hold it for 6. And then exhale for 8. It's a really powerful exercise to use to help stay grounded and focused on what's going on. And then also, like any sort of like Play-Doh or sand that you can use your 5 senses to describe what you're feeling and notice what you're feeling inside of your body when you're touching those different things. These are just some simple tools that you can use to develop that mindset, and also some tools that you can use for coping as well, and that you can teach your child for ways to cope with any overwhelming emotions that they might be having, right? Like we've been saying today, it's all feelings are welcome, all feelings are okay, but we definitely can help them feel calm if the feelings are getting too big for them to handle. So that's all I have. Jordan, do you have anything to add with mindset tools or anything?
No, that was great. Thanks, Amber.
Okay. Well, you have here our contact information. Again, please reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns about anything that we've covered today. We know that we're going through these strategies, and that each situation is so unique and different. And so if there are questions that have come up, feel free to reach out to any of us via phone or email, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.